and a very pleasant good morning to you. I trust you are having a great morning already and that you've been in the presence of the Lord today. You've been worshiping Him and loving Him. I'm greeting you today from my kitchen pulpit. I am Karen Clymer of Wholesome Communication, and the page that I'm operating on is another page that's dedicated strictly to, or not strictly to, but especially to Silver Citizen Believers Brigade. You know, we older people have a tremendous opportunity given to us by the Lord Jesus Christ that we are to be examples of believers in our words and our deeds, and we are to be teaching and training. With today, it is Kneading Bread for the Master is what we call this program, and we believe that it is important that we allow the Lord to knead us. Just like we talk about when you knead bread, the reason you do it, it binds all the ingredients together and it makes the bread stronger. We're going to knead this for 10 minutes. It makes this bread stronger and it will rise much better. So this is what the Lord is wanting to do to us. He's wanting to knead us, and because He needs us to work in His vineyard, so He has to K-N-E-A-D us, and so that He can blend all of the ingredients, you know, His word, His plan that He has for our life and all, as we have that, and we put our faith and trust in Him, and we daily work with Him, for Him, and read His word and study and obey Him. All of these ingredients, those are binding together. We begin to get stronger and stronger. Situations in life come, and because we've allowed the Lord to knead us, well, then we are strong. We can rise to every occasion. And yes, you have to, when you make the rolls, then take the dough and make it into rolls, you do have to let it rise again. You know, the Lord, He has us, He has to punch us down every now and then, and help Him, not being mean to us, but He's helping us that we can be stronger and rise again to the next occasion. So what we're going to be talking about today, the title we have today is Beware of Distracted Living. You know, we think sometimes of distracted driving, and we've all been guilty of that if you've driven for any length of time. You've had some near misses, or maybe you did run into something, and it's amazing how quickly it happens and how in only seconds, maybe 4 seconds. I went to a distracted driving training session one time on my job. It was a safety class, and I went to that class, and if you went to it, you actually got, I think they took some a little bit off of your insurance if you turn it into your insurance. But I was just shocked at how quickly that you could run into something in seconds. I think it was 4 seconds you could be down a football field. It was just amazing. So I thought distracted living, and how important it is that we do not get distracted in our relationship with the Lord and our walk with Him. And it really got hold of me. And what first brought it to my attention just the other night, I have this Fitbit that I try to make sure that I get all my steps in, and the goal that I have set for myself is 10,000 steps. I got busy one day, and I was at the computer working and studying, and so I have to watch, because if I'm not careful, I'm not walking as much. Of course, I'm not, but I need to pay attention to the Fitbit. I need to look at it and see how I'm coming, so I can get up and take some steps. It was just past midnight. It was a new day, and I looked and said, "Did I get my 10,000?" I don't remember getting. You know, my watch will have a little kind of buzz, and I can see when I've reached my 10,000. I didn't remember getting it, but I had been busy, and I looked, and you know what? I was within 15 steps. And somehow the Lord takes these things and gives you a spiritual application with it, and I thought we can become distracted in our daily living, our walk with God. It's not that we're lousy, not we're doing nothing. We are doing something, but are we paying close attention to where we are? What we're actually doing in our relationship with the Lord. And I thought especially, you know, as we see the day approaching and how that things are, well, like, in a sense you can say the night is beginning to creep in on as far as our lives. If we're silver citizens, we do have more years behind us than we do in front of us. But the Lord has a work for us to do all the days of our life, and we are not to say the Lord can't use us now. is that because we're getting older, so whether you're older or younger, God always can use us and will use us. And I especially, at this portion right now, I'm speaking to silver citizens for sure, but those who are not and will be there someday, it's good for you to have this ahead of time. Beware the snares of old age. Now, where did you get that? Years ago, Sister Ellen McAdams had, either she had told me or one of her daughters, Francine doesn't remember hearing her say this, and I understood she was actually keeping a little list of things when she would see an older Christian begin to fall back and they weren't devoted to the Lord as they had been. And she would see certain habits develop, and it really touched her, and she began to pray, and she sought the Lord, and as I understood, she began to write these things down as a warning to herself to beware, not fall into that. Beware the dangers or the snares of old age. What is a snare? What is a snare? Well, in the natural, you know how when people are going to go hunting, maybe like for a bird or something, I understand they'll use a snare to get that kind of a loop of a thing, and they can catch that bird and hold it. So I'm thinking, well, you know, you can get tangled in something without, if you're not really paying attention, you can get caught up in something, and, you know, it'll be time. We can get distracted by doing something that may not be bad, but we're not getting more important things done that need to be done. How important it is that we watch and not fall into these snares of old age. One of them is that people will say, well, God can't use me at my age now. I'm too old. I had a lady the other day, and she may be listening at some point today, Sister Jan. She said that she thought, here I am 80 years old, you know, and I don't know if it didn't, she wasn't thinking she wasn't going to work for God. She was going to still be living for God. But there is that thought crosses your mind, you know, well, at my age. And the Lord reminded her that he reached out to Moses, and when he stood before Pharaoh, he was 80 years old. And she said, that's how old I was. I was 80 years old. So you can rejoice in that thing. He can use us no matter what our age. And Sister Ellen McAdams, Francine was telling me the other day that her mom always talked about joy, keeping the joy of the Lord. And that was one of the things when you get older, and we don't want to fall into anger, we don't want to fall into griping and complaining and fussing. We don't want to do those things, but we want to be an example of a faithful person. And Francine said that even to her mother's dying day, and she was in terrific pain, but she was faithful and joyful to the end. And she was such an example of a believer in her words and in her deeds. There's a lady in the church there at Garden City, Kansas, and that her name is Jan too. She's 91 years old, and though I don't know her well, I've never heard anything, but I have met her, and such joy from her emanating from this woman. And if you knew her whole background, unbelievable, horrible things of how that Satan tried to destroy her, even as a little girl, and trying to bring fear and doubt, but she overcame. And God has wonderfully blessed her, and she's just such a living testimony. If you could just know her whole story, it's amazing. And she has the joy of the Lord at age 91, praising and worshiping the Lord and being an example to us. Finish with joy, be an example. And something else that I want to mention that Francine told me her mother, you would always say, there more damage is done from erosion than explosion. You know, an explosion in our life, something can hit us, and you know that can do damage. But what about the gradual, the danger of the gradual? And maybe we're tired, we're older, we don't really feel maybe like doing something. Maybe you slack off on reading the Bible, or really seeking God when you go to pray, that you just reading words on your prayer list rather than earnestly seeking God. I really think these are things we have to be very, very careful that we're not caught in a snare. This snare, well, it's okay at my age. And another thing that Frida, my friend in Lubbock, brought out too, said was not accepting change, that was really hard to accept change sometimes. when you're older. And we have to know that change is a constant. And so we don't want to fight against that, but be willing to change for things for the good. We definitely don't want to change for something that's bad, but that is good. But always know that God is with us. Another one I think Bria brought out was worry. As that when we get older, that's a snare. You know, Satan can use that. Or we can, out of our own head, we can conjure up things that God never had in mind for us. But he wants us to be faithful, not be faithless, but be faithful. He said, do not be faithless and unbelieving, but we want to be faithful, have faith in God, and believe and trust him, and let him guide us and direct us and use us all the days of our life. That is my plan. That's what I want to do daily. You know what I have found out, another snare of old age, is that, and I'm not old, but, you know, I'm beyond teenage years for sure. Time management is one of the most difficult things that I have to deal with. Time management. We have to get serious. Sometimes it is important for me I have a task on my tablet. Now, I do like computers, and I have a tablet and an iPhone. I like those things. But I have found I can make me a task list and then go through it and find out what I did, when I did it. I like to mark the time down, really, and have a list ahead of time and begin to mark these things off. I've had to get down to where I've had to put the time that I allow myself, because I have to be careful because I'm so easily distracted. What about distracted driving? Deaths have occurred because somebody was a distracted driver. And if, as a Christian, I do not want to be distracted and cause somebody to fail or be the person that hindered them in any way. But we want to be an example of a believer in our words and in our deeds. Remember that joy of the Lord, may it fill our souls. So let me find here if there's anything I want to go over. I don't want to miss anything. Those two ladies, Francine and Frida, they filled me up with other. I had written some things down. I said, do you have any ideas? They did. And I said, there's no way I can get them all in. Francine suggested I just take a different one for the next week and the next week. But anyway, have we completed? This is the thing I want to close with. Have we completed our purpose God ordained for us to be on this earth? As we walk with God, we know exactly what he needs from us, what he wants us to do, because he communicates with his people. Now, you may not hear him talk out loud, but as you read your Bible and you're open to receive him and listen to him, yes, you'll hear him whispering to your heart. When you pray and truly believe him, Lord, I want to live for you, an idea may come to you that it didn't just come out of your head. You know that it came from God, because you know, when you communicate with somebody a lot, when you're with them a lot, you learn them. You learn about them. You know, my husband and I can be going down the road, and sometimes we almost know what the other one's thinking. You know, we've been married 46 years, but there's not, you know, we know each other. We know how we're going to react to this or to that. You know, because you're around them. You know how they think. You know how they act. You know their interests. And so if we're around the Lord, we love him and all day long. You know, it's not just that it's during our prayer time that we talk to the Lord. It's all during the day. Everything we're doing. Just like last night when I was getting things set up, I tried to get everything set up the night before, and you know, I'm telling you, Lord, I dedicate this to you. I dedicate this kneading bread for you, kneading bread for the master. Lord, you're my master. I'm doing this for you. I ask him, Lord, just everything I have, the ingredients, the cabinet, everything I own, Lord, it belongs to you. I dedicate this to you. If we talk to him and make him part of every day of our life, it becomes not a common thing, but it is the thing that we do almost without thinking. It's because we serve the Lord daily, all day long, all night. We're loving him, living for him. I don't want to miss anything because we got good things on here. These ladies help me, and I appreciate it. Have we completed our purpose God ordained? Spiritually, we need to be checking up on things eternal. Now, I was working on my tax records the other night for my husband's business, and I was told to go into the totaling up at the end and making sure I had everything. Now, I had this in Excel, and if I had been verifying it every month like I should have been doing, I wouldn't have had any issue. But you know what? Because I hadn't been, at the end of the thing, I looked, and I thought, well, this is off a little. This is off some. I wound up spending, I don't know how much time, all this valuable time, and there was one little silly error after another. Just a silly little thing. Well, on the computer, I could correct it so quickly, but if I had just been checking all along. But I thought how important that we are checking up daily before time runs out. You know, people said, well, I'm just 60. And that was another thing Sister McAdams said. Francine said she would say the 60s are the teenage years of old age. Oh, the 60s are the teenage years of the old age. Oh, well, I'm only 60. It's no big deal. Well, next thing you know, you're 70. Next thing you know, so, and have you really done what the Lord wants you to do? Are you really working for Him like you should? Beware of distracted living. You don't want to become ensnared before you get to the finish and look and say, time is almost up. Now I'm 85 and I don't have the strength I had in the 60s. But may we be always working for Him, abounding in the work of the Lord and in our love for Him. May God bless you and keep you. We look forward to seeing you next Friday morning, somewhere about 11:30. Goodbye.